Welcome to the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast, the show where brilliant professionals share how to sharpen the universal skills required to flourish at work. Enjoy more career fun, wins, meaning, and money with your host, Pete Makaitis.
Hello and welcome to episode 861 with Heather Younger. Heather has some excellent insights into listening better so people feel extra heard and valued and understood, the great relationship benefits that flow from that. So you'll learn 1, why others feel like we aren't listening even when we are. 2, the right and wrong way to paraphrase what you heard. And 3, how to keep your patience when things get heated. So if you want to check out the show notes or the transcript or the links to stuff that we mentioned here, visit us at awesomeatyourjob.com/EP861. And if you're at awesomeatyourjob.com, check out some goodies like the Gold Nugget email summaries, the 10 Days to Winning at Work email course, the searchable transcripts, things tagged by the topic and competency covered each episode to navigate into the classic oldies yet goodies. So much fun stuff at awesomeatyourjob.com. Now, here's some fun stuff about Heather. Heather R. Younger is the founder and CEO of Employee Fanatix. She is an international keynote speaker, host of the Leadership with Heart podcast, and a workplace culture, employee engagement, and diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant. Heather has a law degree from the University of Colorado Boulder. She is the best-selling author of The 7 Intuitive Laws of Employee Loyalty and The Art of Caring Leadership. Big thanks to Heather for sharing her wisdom with us, and big thanks to our sponsors. Check them out.
One sponsor to check out is Bamboo HR. I love owning my own business, but I do not love doing government compliancy things. HR is hard, but Bamboo HR is easy. Bamboo HR is a powerful yet flexible all-in-one HR solution for your growing business. Wrangling benefits, onboarding, performance, recruiting, reporting, vacation time, trainings, oh my, can take hours. But with Bamboo HR, it can take mere minutes. Setting up a demo account is ridiculously easy. I didn't have to coordinate calendars to schedule a demo with a sales rep. Nope. I just created a sample account with sample data within 3 minutes of visiting their website, so I could immediately behold its vast capabilities. The software is genuinely beautiful in its breadth and simplicity. No wonder 34,000 companies trust Bamboo HR with their HR needs. So reclaim your time and check out the free demo at bamboohr.com/free demo. See for yourself all that Bamboo HR can do and how truly affordable it can be too. That's bamboohr.com/free demo. One more time, bamboohr.com/free demo.
One sponsor to check out is EarthBreeze. I recently saw a Netflix documentary that talks about all the plastic that we throw away and we try to recycle, but it doesn't really get recycled. So I've been trying to reduce my plastic, and the most wonderful way that I've been doing so has been skipping those gigantic laundry detergent bottles for EarthBreeze detergent sheets. EarthBreeze detergent comes in super convenient cardboard, plastic-free packaging, so it's much more eco-friendly than your normal detergent. And I love how portable and quick and easy they are, and I save a pretty reasonable amount of time skipping having to carefully pour and measure liquid detergent into the machine by just tossing a quick and easy sheet in there. I personally like their scent-free version, so check out EarthBreeze for an easy way to get clean clothes without the plastic waste and get 40% off with your subscription at earthbreeze.com/awesome. That's earthbreeze.com/awesome. Now, here's Heather. Heather, welcome to How to Be Awesome at Your Job.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm so excited to dig into your wisdom of your book, The Art of Active Listening, How People at Work Feel Heard, Valued, and Understood. That sure sounds handy.
It is very much handy. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm intrigued. I love that you've really done your homework here. I saw that you had done surveys of over 30,000 people here in your research putting this bad boy together. I'd love to hear, when you have this rich treasure trove of data, any particularly striking, surprising, counterintuitive discoveries pop out at you there?
I would have to say that this is an evolution, and the 30,000 surveys were surveys I did on behalf of clients where we reviewed every single comment inside those employee surveys, and the hundreds of focus groups I did personally facilitate. And so in that, I hope to just say that it came down to listening. Like, it was the lack of feeling heard that was a huge determining factor as it related to internal employees and external customers. And I've known it for a while. I started off doing kind of customer experience and listening to customers and doing that in a variety of ways, but also with surveys. I remember one particular gentleman, he was a lab tech at a hospital, and this has been like probably 14 years ago. And I remember him giving some feedback, and then he asked us to adjust some things related to this conference we were doing. And then we went back and we made the changes and requests based upon the tweaks he was requesting, and the conference and how we had things set up changed. And we told him that it was going to change. And then he came to the conference and he saw that the flow changed. And he came up to me after and he said, I'm going to be honest, like, we've been working with this company for years, but this is the very first time I've ever felt heard. And it was because we took in the feedback. We sat as a group to figure out what we were going to do about the feedback. We acted and decided we were going to act, let him know we were going to act, acted, told him we acted. He saw we acted. And then we followed back up with each other to determine like if that action was good enough or not. We followed a process. And I noticed like ever since then, when I was dealing with internal customers, external customers, that using that process for active listening is what in the end made people go, aha, I've actually been heard. It made all the difference.
Okay. Well, Heather, it's funny, that doesn't sound that revolutionary, no offense. Mm-hmm. And yet I have a hunch that this sensical approach may not be so much common practice. If that client said, this is the first time I felt heard, is that your vibe? Like, what proportion of folks do feel heard versus unheard?
Well, I mean, I think there's many of us that don't. If you think about, particularly in the workplace, and customers often are left feeling like they're just a means to an end of us arriving at a number on our end goal, right, of our revenues. So they're often not feeling heard. Then you have employees who feel like they're victims inside the workplace, like things are happening to them all the time, and they have no say with how that's all going to happen, how it's going to roll out for them. What I would say about the cycle of active listening is that most of the steps are super intuitive. And most people do about 60% of them, 60% of the framework. And 40% they don't. And the 40% they don't is where they drop the ball and why most people don't feel heard. As we walk through the process, I would say decoding and closing a loop are the two that seem to be the most foreign for most when I speak from stages about it. Decoding is this idea that after we receive feedback from someone, after we listen to someone, we lean in to hear what someone's saying to us, and we think we got it. We think we know what's going on. Most of us jump straight to the fourth step, which is action. We want to go act upon what they just asked us to do. We want to act about what we heard to like solve an issue. And what I'm telling people is not to go act immediately. Unless it's like a life or death situation, you need to pause. And the pause could be 2 days, 2 weeks. Normally it's 2 months, but it's some time to process what it is we've heard, to reflect by ourselves and with other people, to research maybe what our response should be based upon what the people are telling us, and then act, or then go back to the client and tell them you want to act, or then go back and tell them you can't act. And after you've acted, go back to the person and say, well, I listened to you. I heard what you said. You wanted this thing, and we went and did that thing. And I don't know about you, but it seemed like the results are great. What do you think? Okay, because we did this based upon your feedback. Thank you for giving us that feedback. It helps us get better, and you helped us get better by using your voice. That is a complete foreign concept, Pete. Most people are not doing that. Most organizations do not do that process. They don't close the loop. They don't go back after they've taken action on behalf of another person and tell the other person that they've taken the action because of them. They don't go back and thank them for that feedback. They don't go back and tell them about the tweaks they're making in the process as they're making them. And that is where we drop the ball. And there's the gap between when we think we're listening and when people feel heard on the other side.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And I've been guilty of that myself. I'm thinking about one of my producers, Rhea, who's great. And she did a really great job of proactively highlighting how my vocal processing sounded a little different under certain circumstances on the podcast. And I was completely unaware. And so I dug deep and did all the stuff and through quite a process of sort of thinking through what are all the steps associated with how the audio gets mixed and mastered and whatnot. And then it was sort of like, oh yeah, by the way, thanks for mentioning that because we did this whole thing and changed it up. And now I think it's a lot more natural. And she's like, oh, well, thank you for letting me know. I had no idea. I was like, yeah, I guess you wouldn't unless I would say it, and I didn't say it. And it's funny. And I don't know what the holdup is. Maybe it's just sort of like the time gap there in terms of it's like, oh, we had that conversation months ago. So, and then I'm off to another thing.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly what happens with most people too. Time goes by. They think, oh, do we really need to give them that? Do they really need to know about that? I don't think I have time for that. It's not that important to that person that I do that. And that is the wrong way to think about it. We actually give people a gift by doing this whole process. When they see that we've taken the time to reflect on their feedback, that we processed, that we've done our research, that we've decided how we're going to act and we go talk to them about it, we do that action and we tell them that we've done it. And they see the direct correlation between their voices, they're actively using their voices, and our response to them. It's powerful.
Yeah, it feels great.
Because otherwise, again, we're just kind of sitting around like this in the world, like wondering, like you did, like wondering that person, oh, wait, what? I didn't know that. We think we see something changed. We think it's based upon our feedback, but we have no clue it's directly tied to us until the person or the people who did the thing tell us it was because of us.
Yeah. And that feels so great because I think all of us like to, contribute, feel like we matter, made a difference. And if you can feel like you were a part of having made a real difference or contribution by merely having maybe a quick conversation, it's like, hey, remember we chatted 15 minutes about that thing one time? Well, now look how the world is completely different for thousands of people. It's like based on that conversation, like, oh, awesome. That's the coolest thing. Huge impact, low effort. Oh, can I get some more of this, please?
Oh, I love it. Yes, exactly. So I think that's exactly right. You feed the need for people. And when we think about that baby who's in the crib, you think about us when we're babies. We're in the crib and we start making noises and we go, ooh, cuckoo. We make all kinds of noises and our parents come and go, oh, how are you, sweetheart? And all of a sudden we're just like, they heard me, right? Thinking about, I have 4 children, so I don't know who's listening who has any kids, but I have 4 children. And as I think about each of them, and a couple of them are more rambunctious than others, as they would make those same sounds and I would not respond to them, they would start to throw things out of the crib. They would kick the crib. They would make all kinds of noises because they were like, wait a second, you usually come. You're not coming now. Are you hearing this thing I'm using? It's called a voice. Are you hearing me? That is innate in us. Our voice is a significant part of what makes us us. So the more we use that and people respond to it in kind, it makes us feel powerful. It makes us feel important.
It does.
That's a gift we give to people.
Well, now we've talked about the 5-step framework a bit. Could you share with us each of the 5 steps and maybe a demonstration or case of it unfolding in action?
So the first step is recognizing the unsaid. And recognizing the unsaid, it kind of speaks for itself, but it's kind of like those unspoken cues, the signs within a culture, the signs within our office that something is just not right. And we don't recognize those signs if we're running around with our heads chopped off, if we don't take time to pause. But those signs could be blind spots in a really big way into relationship failures, conflicts that are brewing, customers that aren't happy. There's a lot of things that we are missing if we don't take time to pause and recognize those things. So recognizing the unsaid is the first step because we need to get there for our awareness to expand so we can then go to the next step, which is seeking to understand. Our seeking to understand, once we see the signs, now we have to go deeper, have the courage to go deeper and start asking and leaning in and asking questions and going back and forth and trying to be with curiosity, figure out what's happening, what the person needs from us, what took place, whatever, right? But we can't do that until we recognize the unsaid. And then so the seeking is that whole reflective listening. It's the empathetic listening. It's the leaning in. It's trying to understand what the other person needs from us. That third step is the decoding phase, which was what I talked about earlier, which really is the time when we take to go reflect. We pause and reflect on what the person told us in the seeking to understand phase. We go reflect. We research. We do it by ourselves. We do it with our management team. We do it with our team, our colleagues, whoever we need to. That's what we do. And that's that phase. And the decoding says to the person on the other end, I think you are so important that I'm not going to rush to a decision. I'm going to pause. I'm going to take some time with what you said. It's important what you said. And then action is the next step. So, okay, you're going to take action, or you can't take action, but maybe you can come to a compromise. Or what kind of action are you going to take? So you got to take some kind of action because people will say, oh, I mean, the dots really start to be connected then. Oh, they actually changed something. They did something different based upon what my voice said to them, what I said to them. Oh, okay. And then the closing the loop is that last step, which is to come back full circle to say what you've done, what you plan to do, or what you can't do, but how you might be able to come to a compromise so that they know, okay, Pete took time. He sat with me. He took the feedback in. He told me it was going to take a few days before he could like research it and come back to it. But he came back to me when he promised he'd come back to me. And then when he came back to me, they had a solution. And the solution was better than I thought it was. And they told me they were going to going about kind of putting the solution in place, and they did it. And Pete told me when they did it, and I looked and I saw it, and it was great. And it was because of me. That's a 5-step process. That's kind of how that comes together. And that is kind of a real life working, because this stuff is happening all day to us. How we respond in the moment, it makes all the difference.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, could you give us a demonstration?
Well, I mean, I think part of it is just that, like, you come to us, you say something to me. Let's just say a customer's complaining about a process. So let's say you're a customer complaining to me about there's a process that's happened, and I'm leaning in. So tell me more, Pete, tell me more, what's happening. And I'm asking all the questions. And I get to the point where I'm like, I think I understand. So Pete, I just want to make sure I understand. This part of the process was really frustrating you and your team. It's making the whole relationship kind of go downhill. You're frustrated and you're at your wit's end at this point. And you're coming to me because you feel like I'm the only person, like I'm the last person that can listen to you, that can maybe do something about what's happening, right? Is that what I'm getting to? Is that what's happening, Pete? Then Pete, you say, yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, Pete, if you can just do me thank you so much for that feedback. I need to go and talk to a few different departments and maybe even like my manager to see what we can do. And actually just to look into this more fully. Is that okay if I come back to you within the next 72 hours with what we found and maybe a solution? And Pete says, that's great. Thanks, Heather. Just thanks for at least trying. Okay. So I go about and I'm talking to the shipping department and this department and that. And I go talk to my manager and I go, here's what's happening to the customer. They're not happy. Here's what they're really wanting. Here's the part of the process that's really broken. And I talked to these different people and I looked at this process and I think that the client's onto something. There is a part of it's broken, but I don't think we can give the person exactly what they wanted. But we can maybe give them this. What do you think about this? And this is what the person's talking to their manager about. And the manager goes, I think that's possible. Research a little bit more here, go over there. And if you think you can come up with this, then go back to the customer and let them know we can do it. We can do this thing, this more narrow part of the thing they want me to do. Okay, great. So I go back to the thing, come back, tell the manager, yep, manager, it's good. I think I'm going to go ahead and go to tell the customer, we can't do the entire big thing, but we can change this back. So now I go back to the customer and I go, customer, thank you so much for that feedback. I told you I'd be back in 3 days. I'm here with you. I did a lot of research, talked to all the different people, and here's what we think we can do. We can't quite do all of this thing, but as we looked at it, you're right. There was a part of the process that is really a problem. So here's what we're thinking we can do. And I wanted to come back with you to see if you thought this would work. And I tell the person what it is, and they go, yeah, I think it's possible. Or can you go a little further? I don't know if you can see how it can go, but it's going to just it requires us to go more back and forth. It's a tennis match of requests and meeting requests and communicating back to them. And at the end, let's say you get to the point and you boil it down to what it is they really, in the end, you've met their need. Now they're happy. Now they're like, great. Thank you for being one of the very first people ever to hear me.
All right. During the course of those actual conversations, are there any particular words, phrases, questions that you just love and seem to really go a long way?
One tip I would give you as it relates to the seeking part of that cycle is when you're listening to someone and you want to go try to paraphrase what you've heard, paraphrase, do not parrot. So don't go back to them with exactly what they just said. Instead, take in all of the emotions that are going on as they say it. So you sense their frustration. You see their hesitation. You can sense their anxiety. And what you do is when you go back to them, you make sure that you reflect back part of what you like, kind of the gist of what you heard them say and how that makes them feel or how it made them feel or how it makes what you sense they felt. This is going to take more effort for some people than it will for others. But if you pay close attention, you're going to see like there can be shifting in their body language. You're going to hear the tone of their voice. You're going to see the grimace in their face, knowing that there's anger, frustration, whatever the feelings are. Because when they see that you recognize this, like that's part of the unsaid, right? You recognize the thing that you're seeing, kind of what you're experiencing and what they're saying. Now it starts to add up for them. They're like, okay, what I'm saying, they're actually hearing. They're not hearing something different. They're hearing what I'm saying and they're sensing what I'm feeling about what I'm saying. It's powerful.
Okay.
So I would say that's kind of a big one. Do not parrot. Don't parrot back because that's super frustrating. What I mean by that is this. So Pete, what I heard you say is da, 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 da. And then they say, yeah, because of this. And you go, okay, so what I heard you say just now is da, 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 da. And they say some more and you go, and what I heard you say just now is that's the parroting. That's actually super frustrating, very irritating. It feels very robotic. So just calm yourself in the interaction. Don't feel the need to respond to every single sentence. Calm yourself, take it all in, what you see and what you hear, and then start to ask thoughtful questions and then wrap in the emotions of the thing that you're doing.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Anything else we should avoid?
I would say that's probably the biggest thing. There's probably a lot of other little things that you should avoid as you're in them. For example, if you really want to not be in conflict for long, don't go into something with your desire to be right or your desire to respond. Go into listening with your desire to find a connection, your desire to find a midway, your desire to land on a solution, not to be right. I would say that'd be the other thing.
Okay. And if we do have conflict, disagreement, tension, any pro tips on how we can listen effectively there?
Sometimes, you have to just agree to talk about it later. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be in a super heated situation and handle it right in the moment necessarily, unless again, it's life or death or something. For example, even if it's a customer at a counter, I've done this before where it's like, it gets a little heated and they're like yelling and I go, excuse me, I just need to take one moment. Is that okay? Just one moment. And then I go in the back and I just kind of go, because I really want to strangle the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just process it and then come back out and go, okay, sorry about that. I just needed to kind of gather my thoughts or whatever it was. Okay, so now I want to make sure I hear you. And then you can kind of go into it with, I would say the biggest thing is going in with curiosity. Because in conflict, in most cases, we want to be right. We're seeking to win our side. So in conflict, if you feel yourself in it, remove yourself from it for the moment, or totally table that discussion for later if you can.
Okay. Well, tell me, Heather, anything else you want to make sure to mention before we shift gears and hear about some of your favorite things?
No, I would say that's it. I mean, as we think about it, active listening is a gift, and our presence and undivided attention for people is the biggest gift we can give them. So we just have to remember that as we ask ourselves, well, I don't have time, or we say to ourselves, I don't have time to listen like this, or listening's not that important, or I think I'm a pretty decent listener. That's all I need to be. Think about what kind of gift you want to deliver. Do you want to deliver one that's frayed in a box that's been banged up, or do you want to deliver the gift that's this beautifully wrapped box with a bow where someone goes, this person really thought a lot of me? And that would be for you to answer.
All right. Now, could you share a favorite quote, something you find inspiring?
So it's by Marianne Williamson. It's the deepest sphere quote. The deepest sphere. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Here's part of it. It's not the full thing. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are we not to be? And it's actually a much longer quote. So I would definitely invite everybody to go look at it. But it really is this idea of not minimizing ourselves for the benefit of others, not making ourselves smaller so that others can feel bigger. That's really up to them to do. It's not up for you to do. I absolutely love that quote so much because often, depending on your personality, if you have a kind of personality that's bigger than life or you have goals that are really big, oftentimes we want to minimize because we can see other people aren't in a good place or they may not take in whatever it is you're going through and they may maybe be negative about it.
Okay.
And I say, that's their issue, not yours.
Okay. And a favorite book?
I love pretty much anything John Maxwell. So The Leader Within, all those leaders books by John Maxwell are the best. They're thin, so you can get through them on really quick on an airplane ride or just while you're at home. So anything with John Maxwell is what I would say is books I love.
And a favorite tool, something you use to be awesome at your job?
This is a love-hate relationship, but I'd have to say my iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
I probably do 90% of my things from there, like emailing, texting, social, just everything. So when people are like, oh, and when you do this on a desktop, And I'm like, I don't do much from the desktop. So I don't know what you mean. So iPhone would probably be my best tool.
All right. And a favorite habit?
I like to eat the same breakfast every day.
Oh, what is this breakfast?
See, now you're intrigued, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 eggs with spinach with a little bit of Parmesan cheese and some pico de gallo on top and a piece of sprouted grain toast and natural peanut butter and some blackberries. That's my breakfast.
Okay. And is there a key nugget you share that really seems to connect and resonate? Folks quote it back to you often?
I think the idea that listening is being present is in fact a gift to others.
All right. And if folks want to learn more or get in touch, where would you point them?
I'd say go ahead and go to LinkedIn, linkedin.com. Just look for Heather Younger and boom, I'll be there. That's probably the biggest way for them to kind of follow me, contact me is LinkedIn.
All right. And do you have a final challenge or call to action for folks looking to be awesome at their jobs?
I would say that we all have the ability to own the listening that we do and how well we do it, and be really reluctant to give away your power. Don't point the finger or blame your manager or somebody else in the organization. Instead, stand in your own shoes and own your own presence when it comes to people around you.
All right. Heather, thank you. This has been a treat. I wish you much luck and fun and gifts of active listening.
Thank you so much for having me.
I so love what Heather had to say with regard to people want to feel like their voices can make a difference. You give them that gift by listening, and when you act upon what you have listened to. And I think that also carries over into our other communications, from text messages to emails to et cetera. Like, oh, oops, I just didn't get around to that. Sorry. I've been guilty of that before. I have a few emails I've yet to reply to for you, dear listener. And that's deep in my inbox, tormenting me. But I'm committed to getting to it eventually. So yeah, folks knowing that their voices are heard, whether it's their literal voice going from their larynx to your ears, to the words they share in text or email, like, oh yeah, what you have to say really matters to me. I'm taking it seriously. I'm acting upon it. And it is such a gift to receive that. Again, the show notes, the transcript, and the links to items that we've referenced are awesomeatyourjob.com/EP861. Hope to catch you next time. And peace.
Thanks for listening. To get the most out of the show, we recommend 2 key things. First, check out the extra resources at awesomeatyourjob.com. You can find this episode's transcript and links, as well as the perfect episode for your situation. You can search the full text transcripts of hundreds of episodes or explore episodes tagged by topic and competency covered. Second, subscribe to the podcast and get future episodes automatically. You can subscribe by telling Siri and several other smartphones and speakers, subscribe to the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast, or by tapping subscribe in your podcast player of choice. If you'd like some extra help figuring out podcasts and how subscriptions work, visit awesomeatyourjob.com/subscribe for guidance. Hope to catch you on the next episode of How to Be Awesome at Your Job.